Look at this frog I found. It's got so many pretty markings.
Strawberry, no! Those are poison dart frogs.
Oh, it's okay. We are made of felt. We don't get toxins.
Administration of America wants you to take a look at the following Troy Beauty brand products. Looks good, right? Perhaps they could serve as a lovely gift for children, wives even. Well, our scientists say no. No, they don't. Troy Beauty products have been removed from all stores and establishments due to their large amounts of acidic properties. Among the harmful effects that these properties could have on your system are severe chemical burns on the skin, eye irritation, lung damage, intoxication if ingested, and potentially death. Doesn't sound so lovely anymore, If you keep one of these products in your household, discard it immediately. If you or someone you know has used these products, visit the nearest hospital as soon as possible. Please, consider spreading this information. This announcement will continue to air until poisoning cases involving the Troy Beauty brand cease. Remember, we care about your health. We care about you.
Hey guys and gals, let's sing along with me and the Harmonious. Remember, peace and love and stars above. What?
Goodbye, my love, my sweet. Oh, the world twists and turns anew. We try so hard to fix it up, but trying our hardest was not enough. We're sorry. Meadow Valley, we have failed you. We're sorry. Meadow Valley, we have failed you. We didn't mean others will make it right. What we did wrong, and we will see moonlight.
Hey, Seymour, look at this frog I found. It's got so many pretty markings.
Strawberry, no! Those are poison dart frogs.
Oh, it's okay. We are made of felt. We don't get toxins.
The FDA, Food and Drug Administration of America, wants you to take a look at the following Troy Beauty brand products. Looks good, right? Perhaps they could serve as a lovely gift for children. Wives, even. Well, our scientists say no. No, they don't. Troy Beauty products have been removed from all stores and establishments due to their large amounts of acidic properties. Among the harmful effects that these properties could have on your system are severe chemical burns on the skin, eye irritation, lung damage, intoxication if ingested, and potentially death. Doesn't sound so lovely.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Um, hi. Hi. How's everyone doing tonight? How's everything working? Is everything good? Everything okay? Everyone having a good time? Um, okay. How do I start a stream? This is my first time doing a stream, so I'm a little nervous, so I hope I'm not too weird. Um, let's see. I should introduce myself probably, because I mean, everyone knows Murphy, everyone loves Murphy, but who am I? What do I do? Who is this little kitty in front of you? Hi, I'm Sushicatz. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm going to be conducting the walkthrough streams this week. Murphy's schedule has changed since our last big update, so she unfortunately won't be able to host streams for a while. but I thought it would be a shame to not have these streams or the walkthrough videos at all, because they're a really great resource for people who are stumped with puzzles and stuff. So I offered to take over. Yay! But who am I for Pendog? What do I do for Pendog? Well, I am the co-creator and arts manager of the project. I built and puppeteer Winerva, Seymour, and Strawberry. I also do some of the art, writing, props, video and audio editing. I do a lot of the sort of text-heavy artifact things like newspapers and screenshots, and I do web dev stuff too. So yeah, I'm a little all over the place. I don't really have one thing I specialize. I kind of just go wherever I'm needed. So yeah, that's who I am. And yeah, again, I apologize if I sound nervous. Romeo, hi. Hi, seeing familiar names in the chat. Hi, friends. Turn up my mic? Yeah, sure, okay. There, how's this? Is this better? Or should it be a little bit louder? So yeah, let me know if any volume stuff needs to be adjusted. I'm still getting used to this. How's this? Good? We good? Yay, okay. I also have rules. We all gotta have rules so everything's okay, everything goes smoothly. So I'm gonna read these out. So keep it safe for work, obviously, keep it appropriate. Please stay on topic and don't derail the conversation. If you have a thought that's unrelated, but is something that you know is going to come up later, just hold on to it until we get to that part. Right? Okay. Be nice to me, or else I'll start crying on stream, and I don't think anyone wants that. But more importantly, be nice to your fellow chatters. Be respectful. Don't shit on other people's theories or ideas. Don't use ableist language, please. We don't need that here. We don't need Delulu. We don't need using cluster B personality disorders as an insult. We don't do that here. Don't argue with me about anything because I'm right all the time about everything forever. And also, I wrote, I helped write the project, so I know what I'm talking about. If your vibes are off, we will block you, even if you didn't technically break a rule. If you're being weird, if you're being annoying, if you're causing trouble, Murphy will hit you with her giant band hammer. And if you do get timed out or muted, just accept it and move on. Just keep moving forward. Don't grovel don't apologize, don't make a big fuss out of it. Just chill. It's all chill. We're all chill. Everything's good. Okay? Okay. So, if we're ready to start, today's stream is going to be focused on the Halloween mini update we had in October. Sorry, I have so many windows open. I'm still new to this. Ah! Here we go. Okay. I gotta switch my thing. There we go. So, during October for Halloween, and a little bit for the Pendog 1-year anniversary, we had a big Halloween update, and our whole website was all decorated. It was very cute. And we did have to take it down, even though Murphy really didn't want me to. But we've relocated the puzzle and the solutions to the puzzle, so they're still accessible, they just aren't in the articles anymore. Oh, is this going to be uploaded as a VOD? Yeah. These will be on Murphy's channel, I assume. So, instead of all the sprites, the trick-or-treaters being in the Creative Archive articles and the history articles, you can now find them if you go visit everyone's favorite scarecrow, Miss Winerva Woeful. If we go down to her little window here, we can see past the funeral band update, we have the holiday special, Echoes of Halloween. Have you seen the creeps and ghouls roaming within our midst tonight? There's lots of hidden faces in these crowds, and everyone has something to say. Except for a few. Would you like to go on a scavenger hunt? You will need to find 1 lone bee, 2 blue uniforms, 3 unfortunate buildings, and a truck full of dog chow. There are others who will help you put everything in line. Be sure to listen to what they all have to say tonight, this night of frights. And as you explore, revisiting doors that have been left unlocked, do be mindful of where you are invited and whom you might be inviting in turn. And you will be able to access the trick-or-treaters here on this page. So everyone's here now, except for, the pieces of the puzzle. You still gotta go hunt for those. And a few of them were moved. So we'll come back to this, because first, what even are we trying to find, right? What are we trying to find here? What's the secret? We have the trick-or-treaters, but there's something a bit more. So, of course it's Halloween, so we got to see Miss Heckett. And the things on her page that are all grainy, these are always interactive. That's how you know something is something you can click on when it comes to Miss Heckett. So this is new, and it's a little bit small here. I don't know if I can make that bigger. Oh, oh, that does not make it bigger. Okay, never mind. But this here is a little Halloween card, and it features someone with a scratched out face. I wonder who that is, and Beatrice VE. They're saying, "How are we going to get back to your house tonight, darling? Oh, just follow that scarecrow." So that's your hint to go see Winerva, and that's how you find out about all the other stuff. But if you click on this, you'll get a password, a locked page. So what we're trying to find is the password to the page, A Conversation. Oh, you noticed the Tana cursor? Yeah. He's hanging out on the site now. So what we want to find is a password. And these guys are going to help you get to the solution. But we need, like, the pieces that we're actually putting together. They'll tell you what order things need to go in, but we need to actually know what the numbers are for that. So you have the hints from Winerva for the scavenger hunt. And the main setup for this puzzle initially, this whole update, was that the trick-or-treaters were in different articles. And this was a little bit of a way to get to encourage people to go back and read older articles from, like, the very first launch of the site. And they were also on some of the pages that have secret links. So we're gonna have to go all the way back to the very start. Wow, there's a lot of stuff on this website now. Oh my god. Oh, you want me? I sent it to me. Okay, okay. Here we go. Look at that. This was drawn by Vesper. There we go. Now you can all see the invitation in all its glory. Look how cute. What did I do before Pendog? Me personally, mostly I just kept to myself, honestly. I was part of the Stars and Blue storybook. Um, I was an artist for that. I made Doodle McNoodle. And before that, yeah, I mostly just kept to myself. I had one sort of interactive web series thing when I was in high school called the Little Laugh Toys Corporation, but we do not need to talk about that right now. Okay. Anyways, back on track. So, a lot of these old articles, it's set up for stuff that's going to come or that you have seen already since stuff has started happening on the website. So you got some of early Maisie stuff, you know, Dorothy do concept art, Hecate cigarettes, of course, and if I can remember even which pages things are on. Let's see. Oh god. Oh, the website does this fun thing where if you go scroll too far back, it just doesn't show them all. Fun, okay. You know what? I know which ones they're under. We're sorting by tags now. So, let's start with looking for a truck full of dog chow. Who do we know is a dog? So, one of the first articles on the site was Maisie the Mutt sketches. And this is an easy secret page to miss because the link to it is this A right here in the word Maisie. So, if you click this, you'll come to this page, Deepest Clearing, with a little message from the Mutt herself. We can listen to that. We can listen to that first.
Oh, are you? You shouldn't be over here, friend. It's not safe. Although, if you are like me, that must mean you are destined to wander. A boon for me, a curse for you. Even if the thrill of discovery clouds your mind. There's danger for those who wander so deeply. Things less friendly than I lurk here. That desire to know is overpowering. I can't stop you. I can't protect you, but I can give you warning. So heed my words. Be careful, you careless wanderer. Be careful, my friend, of the red lipstick trail. Be careful of her, my friend. Be careful. Careful.
Bye bye, Maisie. Thank you. Yeah, as people are saying in the chat, the voice actor for Maisie is Squeaks DeCorge, the creator of Shipwreck 64. So if she sounds like Stumbler, that's why. But anyways, who are these guys? What are they doing here? They don't match this setting. So, like Minerva said in her little hints for us, some people are talking, some people are not with these sprites, and you're looking for the ones that aren't talking because they are the ones who have the most to say. If you click on them, you get a whole story. Wow, look at that. And each story is numbered. So we'll start here with 0. All American Halloween. If you asked anyone in this world what they thought the definitive sign of power was, they'd give you many answers. Some might say it's strength, or beauty, or being a consideration in the plans of others. A certain red thread might even say that power is to be everywhere and nowhere at once. To Curtis, though, as he lazily chews at a loose nail while reclining in the back of his friend's truck, true power was displayed in his group's Halloween tradition. They had a game, you see, a ritual almost, shown to them by Camberley's brother when he'd returned from the military. Her brother, Neil, had always been a funny sort to Curtis. Not all there, but incredibly bright. The type of older teenager none of the parents in the neighborhood would let their kids near. Why Neil had been sent to the military was unimportant. He'd quickly taken to the army life with zeal, sending letters and getting odd double-digit tattoos that made several members of the community shudder in fear when he entered the building. Every fall he had returned home with stories, lots of stories, of the filth and disease that rotted outside the country Curtis called home, how they started from inside the country before spreading outwards. Said that the only way to prevent it from happening was to uphold the traditions, make people know their place. Neil drove them out to one of the neighborhoods at the edge of town and had loitered on the street the entire night, blasting his music at max volume and intimidating the decorations on his truck. Curtis had expected him to be told off, maybe even arrested, or given a stern talking to by the police, but nobody interrupted the three-person party that sat at the end of the road. At that time, Curtis realized that real power was to do what you wanted and have no one say a thing, because they knew it would be pointless. So every Halloween, even after Neil had been blown to smithereens in one of the country's many wars of necessity, Curtis and Camberly drove out to loiter at the edge of the same street. Over time, they met new friends, brought them along. They got involved in the punk scene, and although they disliked a good deal of the dyed hair, button flag wearing deviants that inhabiting the space, the two were able to get away with existing within it. They even found that amongst what they first found to be undesirable annoyances were individuals who shared the same ideas about other groups. It did not make them friends, rather comrades would possibly be a better word. In time, Camberly and Curtis even started a band, Silver Skull, performed nightly, and many attended. Even those who online professed themselves to believe in things they felt they had to, so as not to be annoyed by the words of those who cared. They all turned a blind eye and let their ears receive the music, even when iron crosses began to adorn the jackets of fans. They claimed it was just part of the culture, that those who pointed them out were just grasping for anything to tear down a promising indie band. Camberly and Curtis would read these comments and smile knowingly. As for the police, well, they never gave the two trouble. Not in any way that truly mattered. Sure, they would reprimand them for being punks and loitering in public spaces, but never ever did they comment on the iron crosses, the nightly joyrides into neighborhoods, nor the defacement of churches and synagogues. One night, a dull-eyed officer had caught the two, friends in tow, in such an act. He had regarded them with a disinterested expression before giving mild criticism on how late it was and what a ruckus they were making. Then he had lazily peeled out of the parking lot and left the group to it. They might not wear the same uniform, but they all lived in the same country, had the same cruel boorish gaze. Curtis thumbs absent-mindedly at the iron cross on his jacket. The police may be dwindling and deteriorating each day, but he's never felt safer. He knows that in the world that is to come, him and his friends will still be protected, still be allowed their nightly excursions. If a couple of cops have less money, or are disassembled entirely, what does it really matter? The walls of the castle are built with more than uniforms. They are made of the bodies of their inhabitants. There is even an idea which excites Curtis, and that is the possibility him and his friends will have to fill the shoes of their predecessors, be the new police, but with more freedom and less stuffy formalities bogging down the process of meting out justice. As he ponders this, the young man languidly looks out into the Halloween night. It's so dark out that the truck headlights are the only source of illumination on this entire block. The residents of this place keep the lights off whenever the truck arrives, peeking through windows and ready to react should the group step out of the car. One day they might, with lighters and gasoline cans, light this whole block ablaze and find a new street to visit as their Halloween tradition. But not yet. No, tonight the darkness remains almost undisturbed if not for the truck, and Curtis is grateful for that. He's never liked gaudy decorations or jack-o'-lanterns. For all his bluster, the season has always filled him with an unease. Better for all that freak shit to stay inside, or better yet, be thrown out. It is for this reason that he feels unbothered when the truck's lights go out. They teeter into empty pinpricks, and with them take what little illumination the street had. The darkness becomes like an undisturbed lake, and in Curtis's mind he sleepily thinks that all is right. He doesn't question why the music has stopped playing, barely registers Camberly's exclamation of surprise. This truck is old and decrepit. Sure enough, he soon hears the swearing of their driver, a fellow member of the punk scene that Curtis thinks is named Zachary. "Fucking truck," Zachary yells as he storms out of the vehicle. The man aggressively slams the door before storming to the front to check under the hood. "Do you think we can fix it? I don't want to have to walk home," Camberly pesters. "Hell if I know. Probably gonna have to get it towed." Curtis tunes out from the conversation, leaving just him and the edge of the nothingness. The stars aren't even out tonight, and to him this is also perfect. As a kid, he liked to hide in dark closets. He'd shut himself in them at home or creep away from his classroom until the end of the day. He'd slink along to the janitor's closet, never fitted with a new lock after the old one broke, and pull himself into the farthest corner of the shelves. He would stare up at the dark, training himself to see patterns and lines in the blackness. Curtis, surprising himself, feels a yearning for those times. They weren't happy, not at all. They had been miserable, and he hated schools as an institution. What he missed was the odd comfort that came from finding a place to hide from everything. He misses the lines in the darkness, so dark they almost seemed red at the edges. Darkness so deep and so pitched that it became many wonderful colors. Something special, something wonderful. The punk finds himself looking into the darkness with more scrutiny now. He tries, for the first time in years, to see the lines and patterns. Out of the dark night horizon, that dark pool of pitch, a ripple of movement disturbs the unbroken surface. A small face emerges, breaking Curtis out of his dreamy stupor. He recoils to the back of the truck, his hand reaching for the knife in his pocket. When he looks closer, his panic subsides, at least a little. The approaching form appears to be that of a small woman. Curtis sneers at her. Coming home from trick-or-treating? You'll have to wait till morning. The street's been closed off. The girl gives no answer. Curtis waits for the fellow heckling of his peers. No answer either. It's just him, the empty street, and the slowly approaching stranger. She's dressed like Maisie the Mutt, he thinks to himself, dumbfounded by the current circumstances and only able to arrive to this one conclusion. It is not any Maisie the Mutt he's ever seen before, though. This costume feels older, less refined. It has messily sewn together gloves, and instead of the usual mask, the woman's face is caked in layers of white paint, a dot of black on the nose, and painted eyelashes. Are you? She looks Curtis up and down. A punk? Her voice is low and empty, almost giving the impression of boredom. Each word is spoken so slowly that Curtis momentarily comes to the conclusion that she must be stupid in the head. He laughs, but feels his voice pewter out immediately. The air sits heavy with the awful stillness of a wake, a great and terrible silence that squeezes his throat. Looking more closely, the woman's face has a corpse-like quality to it. Not just in appearance, though. It's not just the pale, waxy paint that brings the corpse to mind, but the slack, blank expression that adores the trick-or-treater's face. There's nothing alive in the eyes that stare into Curtis. What inhabits them is something other, something after. Did Curtis drive up here alone? And then his car broke down, so then why was he in the trunk of the car? He feels disoriented, like he's been drugged. Nothing seems to pull itself together correctly when the man tries to get a bearing of his circumstances. Are you a punk? The woman asks, more insistently this time. I am. His voice trails off again. Everything in his body is telling him to turn around and run out of this place, but his own bravado stops him. Are you? Delight fills the woman's eyes. Because you just seem like a little boy dressing up for Halloween. Suddenly, she throws back her head and laughs, an awful, grainy sound that resembles the barking of a dog more than a human. From behind her, shapes shift in the black night. More trick-or-treaters. More faces, covered in runny, waxy paint, but also masks. So many masks in the crowd that less walks from the darkness, but more extends from it, like the stalk of a plant. The masks aren't those of characters, or at least characters Curtis recognizes. These masks are homemade, the costumes too. Wide-faced papier-mâché heads with grotesquely serene expressions. Long-snouted cloth dog masks with somber yet stern eyes. Mismatches of suits and ill-fitting clothing borrowed from parents. Overly detailed animal masks with wrinkles and folds. Paper goblin masks with ruggedly cut-out eye holes fitted into pointed hats. White-cloaked figures with silk feathers obscuring their faces, except for tiny painted red lips. There's no end to them, no two alike. Curtis feels a low sob, working its way up from his throat. Fish-faced children trot and skip alongside the older teenagers in the crowd. Tall bat-faced snail people teeter back and forth at the night air. Jack-o'-lanterns adorning the heads of bedsheet bodies leer at him. Bewildered, wide-eyed ghouls look through him, and a child wearing a frog mask runs backwards on all fours. Camberly and Zachary's faces voicelessly look down at Curtis from decorated pikes carried through the crowd. The punk's low sob turns into a scream, a jagged wet scream like a dull knife working its way through meat. The small corpse-faced dog-eared woman claps her hands, her voice clear in the silently shifting crowd, rising above even Curtis's hysterical wails. Okay, everyone, let's find him a costume that fits right. They descend on him. So, as we go through these stories, I do have some notes here that we are going to discuss. We're going to discuss these stories and some of the thoughts behind them, the art and stuff. This illustration was drawn by Murphy. You can probably tell because of how amazing it looks. The color palette ended up resembling kind of an American flag sort of look, right? And then you got Camberly and Zachary's heads up here. So, in the funeral band update, we looked into the punk movement and the hippie movement in the world of Pendog, which sort of reflects real life stuff, but also, remember, this is alternate history. This is a fake world, and the history is also made up. And Penny, our protagonist of Pendog, she has a bias towards the punk movement because of her friend RWG, Red Riding Gloves. She's a punk, and so Penny feels more inclined to be kinder to the punks than the hippies, who she sees as, frivolous or not as serious. But even in the punk scene, even in a scene like punks, there are still bad people you gotta look out for. There are still people who are going to use the aesthetic as an aesthetic. They're going to take the aesthetic and ignore everything else. What is the noise that keeps happening? Oh no, can you hear that? That's my stream chat noise. Oh. Let me turn off my desktop audio. Sorry, I didn't know you guys could hear that. Oh no. Anyways, so something to note here. Camberly has red ladder laces on her boots, down here. Lace code is something that originated with London skidheads in the 70s. Red or white laces were used as symbols of white supremacy, although, it can mean different things in different places. In the US, where the story takes place, red is most commonly associated with symbolizing someone being a Nazi or a neo-Nazi. Lots of people will try to say that lace code doesn't exist anymore. And, sure, it might not be as widespread as it once was, but there are plenty of people who still use it in the modern day, especially in the punk scene. And, in my experience, the only people going out of their way to defend red or white ladder laces on their combat boots are people who are fully aware of the connotations and don't care or feel bothered by being labeled as such. This idea with the red laces is similar to the part in the story with the Silver Skull Band. Let me get back up there. Here. The Silver Skull Band fans would use the iron crosses on their jackets, and they would claim that it's just part of the culture, and it has no deeper meaning. And then Camberly and Curtis would read these comments and smile knowingly. These are people who know what these symbols mean, but claim that the symbols have no meaning, so that they can use them as dog whistles to other people who think the same way they do. Camberly, over here, would probably claim that her laces are just because she likes the color of red, or that lace code is dead and irrelevant, or that in other parts of the world red laces can stand for anarchism. But, in reality, she and her friends know exactly what they stand for and why she wears them. So, these are people who like punk for the aesthetic. They want to be seen as something edgy or something cool, something against the grain, but they do not care about the culture or the community that they are trying to be a part of. This is similar to Dylan Rose from the Funeral Band update, and how the Harmonias use the aesthetic of the hippie movement to gain fame and fans. So that's what that story is about. Who should we look for next? Mailman, police officer, the bee. The bee. All right. We can look for the bee. Where was she, huh? Okay, so this is another one of the early articles from the site, the Bartleby Brand's tour package, and radio ad. So this was another page with a secret hidden on it here. There are 6 senses that a human might experience in their life, for 6 is a spectacular and fabled number for all manner of trickery and spectrums. Sight, to see something brilliant. Smell, to heighten your appreciation. Taste, to make life truly living. Touch, to master the world around you. Hear, to make all rhyme. And thought, to dwindle and idle, and lead one down a different path than the previous 5 senses. A beautiful side of the honeycomb, surely. For it can lead you silly little things to things like me. Deep in the factory darkness, your eyes will fail you, for the gloom will spread like tar across them. The sense of smell is rendered inert. The choking smoke and dust and sweet smells are simply too much. Taste? Well, I suppose I needn't say it. Wouldn't do you much good anyways. Sorry. Well, I suppose I needn't say it wouldn't do you much good anyways. Touch? You may fumble for a while across winding halls and tracing concrete walls, but in fruitless effort. And hearing? I suppose it might help you keep yourself steady, but all certainties fade with time. But thought? It will lead you to me. You will wander and wonder with steps entwined, my melody calling you close with heavenly rhythm, heavenly rhyme. That's right, come closer, and rest your head. That's right, let your shoulders ease. Come to me. Come closer now. Closer. Closer. That's right. Come closer. Come here. And on this page, appropriately, is our bee from our scavenger hunt. And if we click on her, we get number 4, Charlotte. As Charlotte steps out into the Halloween streets, she gets a little wistful. She hasn't celebrated the holiday since she went up to undergrad 8 years ago. Only just returning from graduate school, she'd long forgotten just how melancholy the old town feels, with its earthly smells and fall colors. Has it even changed a little in the time she's been away? Well, according to the local gossip, yes. And there are less children everywhere she looks lately, probably off to college and moved away to the big cities and other neighborhoods. A bit sad, really, but she understands. There are better places to be than home, especially with the way the world is changing. Walking in the fading light, Charlotte turns her mind to the remaining residents of this town. People in this town don't smile the way they used to. Their expressions are cheerful, yes, but when inspected, the corners of the mouths don't reach as far as one would like, and the eyes above those of a tired insomniac. Everyone's a sleepwalker here, where the fire touched the sky all those Halloweens ago. When adults in this town talk, it is with a forced rigidness, an attempt to keep an old machine running long past its prime. Charlotte wishes she could understand how they feel, and in some ways she does. She had childhood friends who were involved in what happened, yet for all she tries to connect with the town that aged without her, she finds that the central issue is that she was not there when it happened. So she will never truly understand. She can never reason why the people here sleepwalk, put up decorations, and make false conversations as the event of something special, something wonderful, draws near. Her parents spend the night inside, bluntly refusing to accompany Charlotte into the fall dreams of October, and it is deeply disappointing, yet understandable to her. Even now she is regretting going out, For all the festivities decorating the neighborhood here are but 1 or 2 trick-or-treaters in sight. They pointedly hurry away as the young woman tries to approach, not meeting her eyes, and making her feel like a creep. Adults glare from the windows, turning off the house lights when anyone draws near their abodes. A wave of nausea washes over her, overpowering the sweet nostalgic breeze of October, and to such an effect that Charlotte is forced to hunch over at the nearest curb. Her town removed all public benches during her absence, something about keeping the filth in the shadows and not sleeping in the middle of public. Her head pulses with the sound of lyrics she does not recognize. Halloween music? It sounds dreadful, like a jackhammer up against her skull. In this state, near ready to puke and pass out, Charlotte takes several moments to come to the realization that someone is now gripping her shoulder. It is not an unkind or violent hand, and it steadies her just a bit to have something to anchor onto. Looking up at the hand's owner, she finds herself wanting to laugh. If she wasn't so nauseous, she would. The woman before her is unnaturally tall, with a goofy yellow grin that matches, oversized yellow gloves, and cat-like yellow eyes. An amazing costume, a broad-brimmed hat. Is she trying to be some sort of detective? It throws Charlotte into hysterics. What a laugh! She gets up, she walks home. The doors are locked and the television is kept unplugged. Her parents do not bother to ask why she's returned. There's no question to be presented. The answer was known from the touch of a yellow-gloved hand. Halloween in this town is to be spent inside, if not celebrated at all. So, a few things about this one. Miss Canary, hi! You can recognize her from the sweater and from her cute little eyes. So Charlotte here is dressed like a bee. And we know that this town, and especially this street, is Miss Hecat's territory. So, the context we get from that we will be getting later this week is Miss Hecat and Beatrice Bee. They're not on good terms. So if you're dressing as a bee on Miss Hecat's street, oh, you're in trouble. But Miss Canary, being the goddess of communities, there to look out for her and send her home. And goddess here is just a title. She's not a literal goddess. This is not a story about gods and demons and angels and stuff. That's just what she's called. Another small detail you can see right here in the graffiti. You can see Miss Hecat reaching out her hand towards Charlotte. But don't worry, Charlotte's safe. She went home. She's fine. Everything's fine. Also, yeah, the partygoers, I tried to incorporate them into every illustration. Murphy did the illustration for the All-American Halloween story. I did the illustrations for the rest of them. And I really wanted to make sure I included the partygoers, their sort of blobs, into every illustration. So, keep an eye out for those. So, we have story 0 and story 4. And we're looking for 7 digits. So we found the truck full of dog food and we found the lone bee. Do we want to look for the blue uniforms or do we want to look for the unfortunate buildings? Police? Miss Hecat do a kickflip on a skateboard? I feel like that's something maybe more the vamp would be up to. Blue uniforms. Alright, for those, we're gonna have to go look at the slasher. Let me see if I can remember even which page it's on. Here we go. Ah, right down here. This is another website launch day page, which has been updated since then. It's an ever-evolving page. As is the site. The site is ever-evolving, ever-changing, growing on its own, probably. here's our first blue uniform. Story 2, The Officer Treading Water. Much more than the remaining residents of this place, the officer does not remember whether this place was a town or a city or a single street. Perhaps it started off as a city, then dwindled into a town, then decayed into a single street, which he has patrolled every night since Halloween all those years ago. If one was to ask why the officer would say that, it was his strong sense of justice, a dedication to keeping people safe, as the street had become synonymous with an unspoken, unimaginable violence. Yet, all know the officer is not only lying to them, but also to himself, trying to pretend as if he does not feel disturbed and haunted by the idea of a violence that was impossible to quell with the brutality of the state. No gun could kill the party, no baton could buckle its knees. Pepper spray passed through flaming people, and the squealing shouts of officers could do nothing but distract and confuse those trying to tourniquet the flow of something especially wonderful. Pushed out of the way by medical personnel and volunteer firefighters, the man had staggered away from the ill-begotten Halloween celebration. It was not something to which he was invited to, a violence that existed above and without him, but also through him. As he stood at the edge of an empty parking lot, back then he shook and trembled at the idea of such a vicious force that came from the institution of which he propped up, yet felt no loyalty to him nor his brothers in blue. What emerged from the wound of the White's house was a desolate red, a scarlet that could consume him, along with those he subjugated. Every night since, he has policed the street where it happened, desperately hoping and deluding himself into the idea that if he watches it, if he walks the pavement with discipline, if he fixates upon the foundations with a stare more hateful than he has held for any detained individual, then he can gain some authority over the awful, dancing violence. He thinks, stupidly, that perhaps he can make it respect his capacity for violence. Back off, spare him. Remember him when the day comes that it devours everything. As his face is forced against the pavement, the officer realizes he will never see that day, because there is an outside violence that has crept into this town on the anniversary of unimaginable harm. It clothes itself in blue, and has a similar methodical approach to inflicting brutality, yet it is not a cop. It is not something of the state, or at least it is not something pledging itself to it. No, it is an individual overlooked violence that is the capacity for a single person to send even an officer of the state founded upon violence into a hellish world of suffering. A violence within the state cannot exist without reason, as lightning cannot be formed in a bottle, the thing states, her cruel blue fingers breaking and strangling the officer, with the ease of a child pulling the wings from a butterfly. The officer thought he knew the feeling of powerlessness back then, back at the Halloween party massacre. He thought he understood what it meant for his capacity for violence to mean nothing. But now he knows that violence is not about quantity, but hues. And the hue staring him down with the most hateful eye, burning blue, has a name. It is the slasher. I exist within but without you, she explains. She says other things, speaking in a way that makes the officer dizzily think that she does not speak like a human, but a textbook or manual. Her hands plunge into him. His legitimacy is ripped from his body. He is mulched, bit by wretched bit, and as he screams, he realizes that there is no reason for this, no method or acceptable quantity of it. It pours out of him in reddish hues, but it is not blood. It is something awful and something wonderful. The officer believes himself to not be an individual, but a part of the state, and although the violence of the self cannot measure the violence of the state, the police officer is in fact an individual. All words are lost to the officer's ears in large paint strokes of sweeping red. When all is done, nothing has been changed within the state of things. This is the illustration for this update that I struggled with the most. I don't know, it's just hard to get the slasher and what she's doing right. I felt like it was hard to do her justice, but I hope I did in the end. Murphy described it that she's pulling him apart like crab legs. But again, you can see here, the blood isn't blood, it's the partygoers flowing out of him. The red. And his badge is stapled to his heart, permanently affixed, as it falls out of him. So this story, I think most of you can probably get it. I think you're all smart enough. The violence of the state versus the violence of an individual. The officer here thinks he is the ultimate, like, he thinks he's the alpha here. Maybe that's a weird way to put it. He thinks he's top dog. He thinks he's on top of the world. He and his violence is like the most, right? And then he was proven wrong by the Halloween party. And then he was proven wrong again. And in a different way, perhaps an even more terrifying way, to a man who dedicates his life to the state. He was taken apart by an individual. Also, another small detail up here, all the stories have these red threads up here, but this one here is cut, because that's what the slasher does. She cuts the red threads of fate. So Slishy is a real being. Oh boy, we'll get to that later this week. But she's certainly real enough to kill this guy. So now we have number 2, number 4, and number 0. Where should we go next, huh? Hi, Slishy, hi. Petting her on the head. The mailman? Alright. So the mailman, he is hanging out with Lancer. Which one of these? This one. Another thing about all of these, how they were set up, is they're never going to be on a password locked page. And for this puzzle, this sort of, it continues on, it goes on and on. Hi Lancer, bye Lancer. It's just on the first page. There's nothing on any of the other pages that are related to our Halloween update. So here's our mailman. This is our second blue uniform. And this is story number 1, The Careless Mail Carrier. He has always wanted to live here, in the suburban little paradise. On the single stretch of homes, the mailman one day wished to make one his own place to dwell. For over 20 years, Gus Sanders has delivered mail along this street. Yet if one was to ask him when he started, he would say it was the Halloween of all those years ago when he started his route. Although one would find this illogical, they do not see things the way that Gus Sanders does. They do not know the way the road felt to Gus before the fire. A calming moment of serenity along his route filled with friendly faces and the promise of a day filled with special, wonderful surprises. Not a single thing on that street ever failed to put him in a better mood, and if pressed by his superiors for lingering and meandering his way through the route, he would just knowingly smile and mention needing time to take in life as it was. The route was special to Gus. It was not yet something wonderful, but it had its own energy to it that existed only to him. It was his favorite street, his special retreat from the workday, a moment of sun on his cloudy day. Sometimes he would drive out to the street at night, being careful not to be seen by the residents, and stare up at the stars. He misses those days. No longer can he experience stepping out of his car and being hit with the warm breeze of night air, and straining his ears, he can no longer hear the sounds of frogs and crickets as he once did. No, what he hears is something that he has heard ever since that Halloween, the low, reverberant sounds of a party that should not be. The night air of the street feels so pestilent to Gus now. There's nothing good left in this place, nor the people that live there, because the people he ostensibly knew have no more room for kindness or smiles. They close the curtains when they see him approaching, snatch the mail out of sight before he's even left the porch, selfishly, the mailman hates them for it. Would it kill the world to go back to how it once was? He wonders aloud sometimes, not realizing who or what he is invoking. When Gus starts finding presents for himself in the mailboxes on the street, he requests a new route. And when the street chases him into each new assignment, regardless of distance, he quits. That Halloween, Gus finds that the street that is now across from him is the street in which he lives. It's what he's always wanted, so why can't he stop crying? So something we can note from this story is the manipulation of space. And maybe the manipulation of time? As he continues living life, if you think about time as, like a straight line with a start, and then it just goes straight until the present, then if he's living life like that, how is the street following him throughout his life, throughout his day, and throughout the space as he moves around? We'll hear from Miss Heckett later this week. History is more fluid than the humans like to think. And yeah, for the partygoers in this one, if you take this image and you turn the brightness way up, you'll see the partygoers. You'll find where they are. Or if you look very, very closely, you might be able to see them. Let's see. So we found 4 of our numbers. Where to next? We've got the 3 buildings that we need to find. One of them we've already seen, actually. If we go back to Minerva's Hallowed Halls page, one of them was right there the whole time. Actually, it was only moved here after we relocated the Halloween puzzle. Originally, this was on the Haven Studio versus Liquid Laugh Pictures history article. So, we'll do this one. Number 3, the house across the street. The house across the street acts as the closest witness to an event that many wished had never come to pass. Although the town tried to force the event under a curtain, under many rolls of paint rollers, inside garbage bags and new walls and new shingles, the home across the street remembers. It watched all these things with twin window eyes. The house wondered if the shape of the home on top of the old wound changed the thing within, and the answer was a resounding no. Every Halloween, although its inhabitants keep the curtains shut and lights off, the house still sees the party across the street. The party is loud. The party is beautiful. The party should not be there, and yet the party refuses to end. Sometimes the house, disturbed by the sadness of its own inhabitants, wishes it could become a part of the house across the street, a part of something special, something wonderful. It knows, however, that this would be a very bad idea. To touch the thing across the street would be to have oneself drawn up into something as terrible and as painful as the promises it makes. A terror unlike any other, filled with thrills and wild abandon. That night, years ago, the 2 owners of the house stayed indoors. They didn't want to get involved and dared not to venture out to see what they could do to help appease the violence that had been inflicted itself on the home across from them. The first to do so, though their neighbors would slowly follow after, numbing themselves to everything and doing their best to avoid the music of the party that never truly ended. Does the house resent them for doing so? It does not. It is a house. It exists to comfort and keep inside those that built it. Whether its owners leave or stay, it is happy so long as they return. protecting them from the lights of ambulances and harsh flames. It thought to itself that if they were to place their belief in it as they did on that night, they would be safe forever. The trust they felt in the structure has faded with time, however. If such an event were to happen again, the house is not sure if it could stand between them and the awful change that has afflicted its town. Even as it thinks this, the building's mind turns to all the homes left empty since the dreaded Halloween of years ago. Most of them have been demolished over the years, as if trying to heal the town by razing the entire thing clean. The house, and the despairing residents, know that this is not the case. You can shave away the hair, but the roots beneath the skin remain. Much like the party and the thing that is so special, so wonderful has remained within the body of this town. All that has been achieved is a place robbed of history, and a deep, terrible loneliness inflicted upon the house across the street. Of the buildings on its block, it is the only structure left to be untouched. Yet, it has still been changed. So in this story, we are seeing through the eyes of a structure. We are reading its thoughts and its memories. And this is not the first time we have seen this in the world of Pendog, and it is not going to be the last time we see this either. In the Invitations update, we read through the toy store story, and that was from the point of view of the building itself. And also, something we can learn from this is that the house where the party happened seems to have been sold and bought and remodeled and renovated several times in the 2 years since the Halloween, and yet the echoes of the music and the people still remain. No matter how much they try to change it, or how much they try to cover it up, or ignore it, or pretend it isn't there, it's still there and it hasn't left. Let's see, we have 2 more buildings left. Let's go to the museum. That's in the history articles, actually. So originally that was just straight up on the Creative Archives page, but it has since been moved over to Twinvale. This page. There's Miss Canary again. Hi! So, there it is. The art museum. But first, actually, tiny little secret. If we get rid of this here building. Oh, there's someone underneath. But anyways, number 5. In the art museum. Gaudy, tacky plastic decorations litter the art museum in the city where the most awful thing happened. Art has not been shown in this institution ever since the disaster, for how could any piece of art approved by the staff measure up to the work of violence erected just a few blocks down from them? It has become a new type of art, rendering all other depictions unnecessary, so the curators quit, as did the janitors and upper management. Only one curator remains, a sickly-looking woman with mousy brown hair and a notepad. She was left behind when the building was closed to the public, you see, locked within by her careless, elated colleagues, as they drove off to witness what they told her was something special, something wonderful, at the White's house. They left her here, and she has tried to open every door, every window, peel away the grit and grime of the windowsills, chisel off the doorknobs to the exit, yet nothing has worked. In her mind, it has been a week since the museum shuttered its doors. If she was to leave this place, and she never will, she would find the place long since demolished. Yet, for her, the building still stands in all its old wonder. Stolen artifacts and misattributed paintings litter the floor of the central entrance, and according to her colleagues, these war trophies represented the victory of civilization, the tearing of true art from the hands of those who could not see its value. Yet in the last days of the museum, they also claimed these works were the destruction of the country. They claimed they were rotting it from the inside. Can something stolen break into the house of that which stole it? The curator isn't sure. The curator eats at her own nails, trying to find some sort of legitimacy in them. some sort of function in the existence of this institution, now that it has been abandoned, yet she can find none, and she panics at the idea of an institution without legitimacy or form. When saying that art has not been shown in this institution for a long time, perhaps a fib has been told. What climbs the portrait frames and sculpture tables, its mewling red lips crooning at the curator whenever she passes by, likes to consider itself a work of art, not an exquisite corpse, but a corpse of a different kind of art, with shallow substance and surface-level values. It claims to have come from a great empire, the Greeks and Romans of old, but when the curator tries to make conversation with this work of art, it cannot get its facts right regarding the two civilizations. It confuses Neptune with Napoleon, and claims one came from the other. It claims Archimedes was the greatest inventor of the Greeks, and it tells her that Romans were the inventors of the one true form of sculpture making. It is the lonely existence in this museum with a thing calling itself art, but the curator can't help but feel that she too has become part of something special, something wonderful. So here you can see the partygoers in the paintings, and the paintings are all bleeding into one another. So, a little bit more of that manipulation of time and space by Miss Heckett, just casually thrown in there. It's been 2 years since the Halloween party and 2 years since the museum was demolished, yet the curator is still in the museum. And something that the story might make you think is, what is high art? What makes one type of art more valuable than another? Who is allowed to make art, and who is the one deciding who should and should not be allowed to make art? This art museum, full of paintings and artifacts and sculptures, they were stolen from other places, but the museum thinks that it's their right to display these because they have them. Like the punk story earlier, we return to the idea of aesthetics with no deeper meaning, this time in art. Miss Heckett, here in this museum, wants the surface level aesthetics of quote-unquote high art, of the Greeks and the Romans and marble statues, without having to think about any meaning, any deeper meaning to anything about it. People are happy to loot and plunder the art and artifacts or possessions of other cultures, while labeling those cultures as abhorrent, or as deteriorating the health of the state. So, we just have one more story to find. We've talked about a few different places and people affected by the party, but what about the party itself? So this was another article that was on the site at launch, and if you click this here, you get this page. Am I going to go over the trick-or-treaters? Yep, I will. So if we watch this, first of all, this is very jarring compared to all the other sprites, all the other trick-or-treaters. Those are all drawn in a very simple sort of style. These are just straight up pictures of houses. And it keeps changing. Nobody's sure what that house looked like anymore. So, here we have story number 6, at the house where it happened. There was a party, and then there was not. At least, not in the world that Penny and Jane and Emma inhabit. But on the other side of our world, the party is still going. If one were to visit the place at which the party occurred, the house of the parents of Ian White, they would find no looming carcass, no rotting estate. The building was remodeled, refurbished, repaired, and still the owners shift constantly. When pressed for a reason, the nervous-faced ex-residents, usually in the middle of hastily packing their vans, always give pause before making some paper-thin complaint about the property value. They complain of the stray cats, the noisy neighbors, and even the color of the sky. What they never say is that of the many visitors they get, asking prying questions for their book, podcast, or television show. They certainly never mention the lingering scent of alcohol and cheap plastic decorations, and never ever do they dare to mention what they hear at night. The sounds and rhythms of the Halloween crown that disappeared so many years ago, music reverberating against red strings and scarlet screams that twirl endlessly into the deep dark. These sounds ring out every night, inviting residents of the house to an event they no longer can attend. The partygoers never really died, they just changed states, moving to a place where history never moves forward and always looks backwards, constantly ebbing and flowing and trying to push its greedy fingers against the walls of the world we live in, and especially at the points where history and tragedy take tangible form. This place is she, a we, a thing, a being, but also not, given power only through those that dream big and have red-stained ambitions. The partygoers still live there, in the never-ending party, with flickering lights and refracting from mirrors and gaudy Halloween decorations. The guests spin around and twirl and laugh in a way that would curl the stomach of anyone who heard them. In the Red Place, in the Halloween party that goes on forever, the place they never asked to be, not but a few of them ever want to know more than the prettied up version of what they chase. And they can feel what they find burrowing in and out of them. It aches, it bites, it is always hungry and always full to bursting. It digs within, bursts from gushing sores. It's something special, something wonderful. Nobody ever died at the Halloween party. They lived forever, and they will live forever, in a place that calls itself progress, yet always remains the same shape, the same substance, the same dreadful medicine red. Balloons and streamers caught around the inhabitants' throats and between their wrists and through their teeth that cry out for someone to remove them from this place. Nobody will remove them. Nobody is able to. The state they are in exists to eat and gnash its teeth, sharpening them on the dull bones of its inhabitants. It is rude to interrupt a party. It is unwise to disturb the guests, because despite everything, the gushing sores, the feeble wails, the want to go home, and the constant fatigue, there's something awful on the mind of every inhabitant, and that is that in this awful state they have never felt so incredibly happy. They wish they could leave. They never asked for this. They want to go home and go to bed. They don't want to dance anymore. Yet they are so unwaveringly happy. They dance and drink until they feel sick and throw up more of the red that lives inside them, and then they are made to drink and dance again, and yet they are still so happy. Sometimes, in the back of Penny's mind, she can hear them, the voices and sounds of a party that she never attended, people clinking bottles and feet stomping away at floors. She knows that the party is waiting for her, that it never forgot her. She skipped out, but was not overlooked. Her presence was not ignored. It was demanded, and she did not answer the call. The invitation is always on the floor of her thoughts, like a door waiting to be opened. Waiting to be opened, waiting to be let in, or maybe waiting to let Penny into the party that she did not forget. At night, when her partner has fallen asleep, all is quiet, except for the party in the history book of Penny's mind, calling for her to open up, to come join the fun, to see what happened all those years ago. Every night, Penny gets closer to opening the invitation, to seeing something special, to becoming part of something wonderful. So, there was upwards of 120 deaths reported after the party. Are these people dead? Are they dead? What even is death to something that isn't human? What does it mean? Would something that can't really experience death even know what death is? So, here we can see Penny, and here we got Ian with all the gross red goo coming off of him. So, we found all the stories. We've got all our numbers. But, what order did they go in? Well, there's some people over here in Halloween Town who will tell us. Also, just for context, as can be ascertained from the decomposition process video, Ian White lived in Los Angeles. Or around it. So, let's go over this page now. So originally, like I've been saying, all of these sprites were scattered around in different articles. But now they're all here, hanging out in Halloween Town forever. Not all of, but a lot of these trick-or-treaters are references to other ARGs or analog horror projects or unfiction projects. Some we have had the amazing experience of being able to work with the creators of, but some that we're just, fans of. Some of the costumes are just references to other horror media that influence Pendog in some way, or that Murphy and I are just generally a fan of. And some of them are just generic Halloween costumes. So if you want to know the order for the password, some of these characters are going to talk about the stories or the people or places within the stories in reference to each other. So this one tells you that everything started with the house where the party happened, and everything since has been affected, all the way down to Mr. Mailman. So that means the first number of our sequence. Will I be reading all the dialogue, though? Do people want me to read all the dialogue? I wasn't planning on it. I was just going to do a few of them. But, so she tells you that everything started with the party house, so that will be the first number in the sequence, and it ends with the mailman, so he'll be the last in the sequence. And there's some other characters that will show you the rest of the sequence. So I'll go through and I'll point out the references for these at least. And I do have notes about a few of them specifically that I want to talk about. So this is Bucky Beavers from Shipwreck 64. Their dialogue is talking about the house where the party happened. It's never going to be free of history. And that house is never going to sell. No one's ever going to live there. It's just like a permanent scar on the town, kind of. These two are Bibi and Clarice from the Anthology of the Killer. These are a reference to Anatomy 1963. This is supposed to be Static Miku, the little clown. This is Winerva, clearly, and a crow, because she's a scarecrow. 1964? Oh, my bad. Anatomy 1964. But you should go check those out. You should check all of these out, but it's a really good lost media story. That means Shipwreck 64 is in the same universe as Pendog. No, these are just fun references. None of these things are canon to the Pendog world. They're just little references, shouts outs to our friends or things we like. Most of the time, we're a little bit against having super obvious references and stuff. It can be a little bit immersion breaking sometimes, in my opinion. But for a Halloween themed mini update where everyone's in costumes, it makes sense. This one is Poppy and Friends by artist Trinity. This is angel hair. I'll read what she says because it's cute. A nice blue lady helped me walk down a scary street when my friends ran off without me. I hope she's okay. I don't like that one house. It's really scary. My parents won't let me go near it. My friends' parents, too. So even though Slishy was killing that officer, ripping him apart, she's still taking the time out of her day to come help this poor, scared little girl walk home. So, and there's another one, sort of like this. If we go down here. Mom, I saw a vampire, Mom. I saw it. It was flying in the air, and it waved back at me. That's nice, dear. So this kid saw the vamp, and instead of, killing this child, the vamp just waved at him, because, he's dressed up like a little vampire. So, even though these things, these cartoons, these whatever you want to call them, entities, even though they're sometimes going out and killing people, they aren't always malicious, which maybe is a little bit worse. The vamp is the only good Hecate clone. The vamp is killing people all the time. But I guess the idea of good is subjective. Who else? These ones are just... Those aren't a reference to anything. That's just a butterfly and a kitty cat. Although because they're gossiping, this one is a cat because she's being catty. This is a YouTube series Red Red Hat. And this is another one that will give you a hint to the order for the password if you read what she says. This is someone dressed up as vaguely Greek or Roman god or goddess and baseball guy. This is supposed to be a reference to IB, the game. This is actually the last one we added. I think I finished it like the day of or day before the update went live. This here over here, this is Murphy and Dr. Habit from Smile for Me and Busy Boy P from Great God Grove, both games made by Limbo Lane Studio. And I mean, you can probably tell from the name, Murphy. That's where Murphy got her name. Yay! But her, the hippie, I want to talk about her. So, she was originally on the Harmonious article about Dylan Rose. And her file name, the file names in Pendog will sometimes give you a hint. Sometimes they'll give you a hint or further information about something, but not always. Her file name was Poser, because she's posing as a hippie. She's someone who's dressed up in a costume. She's pretending to be a hippie for Halloween. So, this is reflective of how Dylan Rose is using the hippie aesthetic. He's dressing up as one to try and get something out of it. These two are a reference to Pumpkin Rabbit. And if you read what they're saying, Twinvale has gotten pretty conservative lately. Halloween is all but outright banned. Twinvale was the town we learned about in the Invitations update that was kind of taken over by the COA. Slowly over time, they started buying up buildings and inflicting their ideas onto it. So, this gives us further context about Twinvale. And how, yeah, that's still happening. That's still going on over there. Just because we aren't hearing from something currently every update doesn't mean that isn't still happening. So, that's fun. I'm sure Dorothy's fine over there, yeah? I'm sure Jane is... Yeah, it's fine. It's not. This was a reference to Little Goody Two Shoes, which in itself is based on a story about red shoes. About, oh, I don't remember the story entirely. A dancer who wears red shoes because she wants to be better and they're magical or something. But interesting fairy tale. This guy is a reference to Noroi, the movie, with the covered in aluminum, covered in worms, aluminum foil. And I like the sparklies that they did on that. They're very cute. These two aren't a reference to anything, that's just a clown and a little devil. Oh, here's another little fella who's gonna give you a hint if you read what he has to say. There was a party next to the museum. So, the party house, the number for the party house should go next to the number for the museum. And this is a kappa, but the text gives more context about the reference. It's a reference to this film series, Senritsu Ghost Files? It's a really fun show. It's about like a guy who's always investigating ghost stories and stuff, and he has this cursed bag of hair. He's just beating up ghosts with this bag of hair. It's really hard to explain, but everyone needs to go watch that. It's hilarious. It's really well done. This is the Grok from Moomin, because Moomin is one source of inspiration for the story of Dorothy Doo and Barbara Massey. This is Fran Bow and Mr. Midnight, one of my personal favorite games ever. This is just a guy in a leopard print coat. I imagine this is the kind of guy that thinks he's too good to dress up for Halloween, or like it's cringe. His file name was something like Irritating Leopard, because he's annoying and no one likes him. This is a reference to Creepshow. And this guy was originally on the Winerva Hallowed Halls page. And over here we have something a little bit different. We have a ghost. Ghost of the Hippie. Where's my notes for that? Okay, but my notes for this one say, keep this in mind for future streams. So, keep this guy in mind for future streams. But he was also on the page of the Harmonias. So you have the contrast of this ghost of the hippie, someone who was there during the 60s, and then the poser who's dressing up for Halloween because she thinks it's cool. Here we got Maisie and Chopper, just two little kids hanging out. This one is a reference to Dog Nightmares. Over here we have look outside for the character, and the sun vanished in the little purple diamond over here. And this one is the only trick-or-treater that isn't one of the story important ones that if you click on it, will show you something. That's a little bit odd. That's a little bit weird. What's going on, huh? The file name for this one is The Stars There. And mentioned in a few of the stories, the stars in the sky were mentioned a few times. The color of the sky being off, the mailman going to gaze at the sky at night, not feeling as peaceful as it once did. So, This is my OC Mercury. I snuck her in there, but yeah, she was part of the Liminal Laugh Corporation story thingy I made in high school, so she's just kind of stuck with me since. Don't go looking for that, by the way. God, it was high school. Okay. Here is Rainbow Factory and Cupcakes, the My Little Pony creepypastas. And this update came before the most recent one, of course. And in this text, they're referencing the movie A House with a Beat, which is something we learn about in the newest update. We'll get there later this week. But keep the name of that movie in mind. It's important. This is a reference to the game Zell. I just know those two would rule to hang out with. Yeah, they seem fun. This is Dream Along With Me. That's what that's referencing. This wasn't intentionally a reference to anything, but it did kind of end up looking like Sam from Look Outside. The Wall Man. Over here is Hollow Birds with the dinosaur and the statue. Oh, also, I did the sprites for most of these, and I designed most of them, but Murphy did sketch some of them too. She sketched this guy, she sketched this one, and a few of the other ones too. But this was one of her designs, and I think it might be one of my favorites of all of the sprites. Over here we have another reference to Anthology of the Killer, this being The Killer. And the text here for this guy are actually the lyrics to a song, and the song is called Regular People by Moonwalker. And I can't play the song because of copyright, but that's what this text is from, and I do encourage you all to go listen to it because it's a good song, and also because, to me, it feels very in line with the COA, the Mast Foundation, and all that. So, if you want a song to add to all your Pendog fan playlists, there you go. And this is supposed to be Howdy Doody, which was another thing that served as a little bit of inspiration for Dorothy Doo in his story. And this guy's dialogue. Read this guy's dialogue and think about what it might mean in conjunction with Dorothy's current storyline and what you know about it. And then, last but not least, down here, this is me and Murphy. We're just hanging out. And the COA's views on fiction. Yeah, yeah. And this was also right next to the project info button, which takes you to the credits page. And we will get there later. But, so yeah, that's what all of these are. And so, okay, let's go solve that puzzle now. The big thing everyone's been waiting for, huh? Alright, let's go back to Miss Heckett's page. So we have all our numbers, and if we've consulted the trick-or-treaters, we'll know what order to put them in. So, there are 7 digits, and I'm just going to tell them to you. That's what these streams are for. So, if you don't want the answer, cover your ears now. The answer is 6, 5, 2, 4, 0, 3, 1. Final phone call.
fucking believe you, Ian.
Whoa! What's all this about? Is everything okay, Penny?
I can't believe you. I genuinely cannot believe you. How could you do that?
What? What did I do? I don't understand what's happening. Can you calm down and tell me what's going on?
The Hecate VHS.
That? What about it?
You know all about it, you son of a bitch. I can't believe you would do that to someone. I can't believe you and your Lost Media Club would do that to someone. I can't believe you would make someone do something like that.
I didn't make anyone do anything, Penny. And we got the tape in the end, so what's the big deal? This is nothing new. It's kind of expected with the practice of recovering lost media. Sometimes you have to put the pressure on to get the job done.
This isn't a job. It's a stupid online hobby. Do you have any idea how much trouble you could be in if her family decides to press charges, Ian?
I don't have time for this shit. It's not my fault what someone does to themselves. It's not my responsibility if they decide to do something stupid.
But it is! You and your friends are responsible for how you treat people.
I don't care. I don't care! It's not my fault. It's not my problem. And as sad as what happened is, think about what we've done. We've recovered a piece of animation history. We'll get all sorts of attention. We'll be able to get so many opportunities from this.
I can't believe you. All this for a hunk of junk VHS tape of a cartoon that's remembered by no one and has zero cultural value. It wasn't worth it.
I
Nothing
never
would be.
said that, and you're wrong. This cartoon is going to rock the animation community. You know how much this means to me. You know how much the history behind Hecate means to me. Isn't that what we became friends over?
You aren't my friend.
Years back?
You aren't the friend I knew back then. I've seen some things about you, the things you've been doing on other sites. I've seen screenshots of the things being sent in your private friend server.
Penny!
And this isn't the first time you and your friends have harassed someone either.
Penny! Listen. You need to calm down. You're being hysterical.
Never talk to me again. I hope that Halloween party you were planning plunges straight down to hell with you and everyone in it. You make me sick, and I never want to talk to you again.
Penny!
So how do we feel about that? Yeah, like people in chat are saying, the voice actors did a really, really amazing job with this. That is Salty DK Dan voicing Ian and Lauren Pack as Penny. But we know from Penny's blog posts. Well, Penny's blog post, she says she got sick, and that's why she didn't go to Ian's Halloween party. That might not be true, if we take this into consideration. Because Penny found out about what the Found Finders were doing, what Ian was doing, and clearly something real bad happened to get that tape. So maybe Penny, maybe she just didn't go because she didn't want to. Murphy said that Penny is an unreliable person. While Penny tries to be professional in what she does with this website, it's pretty obvious a lot of the times that her own personal biases and her own personal feelings towards certain characters and certain people, they make their way into her writing regardless. And at the end of this conversation, Penny tells Ian to go to hell. She wants the whole party to go to hell. She probably feels real bad about saying that now. Because even though we all know Ian was a shit person, he was a horrible guy, we all hate Ian. Ian and Penny were friends. Ian and Penny were really good friends for a long time. Regardless of what we know about Ian, they were still friends. Penny started this whole website because of Ian and his lost media quest. Also, keep in mind that you, as the reader, or I guess in this case the viewer, might have more information about what happened with Ian and the Found Finder's search for Miss Heckett's tape than Penny does. Just keep that in mind. Oh, and also, another thing about this audio, Ian and Penny both pronounce Heckett's name different. One pronounces it as Hecate, the other Hecate, I think. And this is because nobody knows how it's supposed to be pronounced in the first place. I mean, her original film was lost. Well, and then it was found, but they didn't really get a chance to see much. Go back to that first in party page? Sure, we can go. Let's go to the party. Let's go hang out there for a while. Hi, Ian. Let's hang out with him for a while. What was I saying? Yeah, so Miss Heckett's original tape was lost, so no one knew how to pronounce her name. And this is something that just happens in real life. I see it in fan spaces, people not knowing how it's supposed to be pronounced. You can pronounce it however you want, okay? I'm just gonna tell you. Hecate, Hecate, Hecate. Just, no one knows. It's canon that no one knows. It's fine if you say it different than someone else. Pronounce it however you want. Please stop trying to correct Nightmind in his comment section, okay? Okay. Alright, do I have anything else on my notes here? Listen to the audio. Oh, I forgot this just downloads it. I just downloads the... That's such a fun noise. Okay, I'll stop that. But something you will see a lot in Pendog is spectrographs. So if you download this audio and you go to an online tool, let me find it. You can upload the sound. And there's text in here. Isn't it cool how sound can be pictures, actually? So, I'll leave you to examine that if you want on your own time. But before you remove the invisible block covering that, you get a video, and if I can figure out how to put it into... Hold on, let me figure out how to put it in...
Everyone was there. You weren't. Why weren't you there? The party. It's true.
Sorry, it was really loud.
You didn't show. You promised something special. Something wonderful. Special. The party. Something wonderful. The party.
Oh, and now it's gone. Okay. Where did it go? Sorry, I still barely know how to use OBS. In the chat, I see. Why does Miss Heckett want Penny so badly? Penny was invited to the party. Penny was supposed to go to the party. But she didn't. She missed it. Okay, let's see. What else do I have in my notes here? Credit page. Let's go see the credit page. So if you scroll all the way down on the About Us page and click Project Info, this will take you to the credit page for the whole project. This is not in-universe information. This is the real-life credit page. Yay! And all these wonderful, wonderful people who helped to make this. But if we go all the way down here, so these are here. These are some of the things we referenced with our sprites, and if you click on any of these, they will take you to a support page for the creator of said thing that the sprite is referencing. So, if any of these interest you, if you want to know more about any of them, if you want to support any of the creators, this will take you directly to a way to do that. Yay! And also on this page, all the way at the top, is our social medias, if you want to stay up to date with stuff. If you want to support the project financially, we have a Patreon. You can go check that out. You'll get super fun behind the scenes stuff. So, alright, I think that's everything for this update. But I'll stick around and I can answer some questions, some comments about anything. Anyone has anything to say, we can have a discussion here. I'll read out some of the chat. I adore that we don't see Ian's eyes, like he can't connect with other people and is clouded with visions of grandeur. Yeah, that's a really good interpretation. I think initially that was inspired by, what was it? Teddy Roosevelt caricature art? Something like that. with the you just see the eyes and the big toothy smile. But yeah, Ian is a very interesting character. I have so many things I could say about him, but I worry it would fall into spoilers territory. Oh no. I really like how you draw Telly. He's so cute in your style. Oh, thank you! Yeah, most of the art of mine that is in the creative archive is Telly stuff. I did the brochures for him, the World Fair materials, the model sheet for him. How do you guys decide what hidden stuff an update is gonna get? Well, each update we try to revolve around a certain theme, or a character. Like the ones that we're going to be exploring later this week, where the major players were Beatrice, the puppets, and Winerva. And the main themes for that was factories, flowers, and families. So the secrets, we had already established that Beatrice is related to the five senses, as we saw earlier with the Come Closer stream page. So the puzzle for her, I'll probably talk about this more later this week, but the puzzle for her was based around the five senses. What was my favorite thing to work on this update? With Halloween stuff. It was really nice to get to animate again, even if the sprites are very simple. I used to really enjoy animating in high school and a little bit in college. When I was in that for a very short amount of time, I did a lot of animating. But I haven't really been able to do any since. I just kind of didn't have any inspiration, so getting to do that again was really fun. Anything upcoming with Straubs and S'more and Millie and Winerva? Well, I can't give any spoilers about anything, but you certainly haven't seen the last of any of these characters. And we will talk about them more later this week. Our next stream is going to be on the upcoming Saturday, and then Sunday as well. We're splitting the Inhabitable Spaces streams into 2 parts. So it will probably be, for the first stream on Saturday, probably, we'll go over the surface level stuff, the archive stuff, and then end off on the secrets. Just the very start, the very tip of the iceberg. And then in the second stream, we'll go through all the secrets. And I have a lot of notes for those. Those are going to be long streams. And those are going to start at 5 p.m. EST. It'll be on our socials. And at the end of the second stream, we'll do like a big Q&A. So if you have any questions, if you think of any in the time between now and then, you can leave them on our social media page. Sorry, coughing fit. The plague. Every character you draw wears a hat. Before meeting Murphy, I did not draw characters wearing hats. Basically ever. I hated drawing characters wearing hats. And then I met Murphy, and she was like, hey, guess what? All my characters have hats. So, I've kind of been forced to learn how to draw those. Alright, but I think we're gonna wrap things up now. Thank you everyone for joining me. I hope everything went okay. And we'll be back on Saturday. So, see you guys then. Bye bye. Thank you for joining.